Good morning, everyone, and welcome to Tel Cockerel. It's Sunday, March the 9th, and I'm going to say good morning to everyone. Good afternoon if you're in Chang's area, and good evening if you are in Australia. It's episode 1 of Jose and Chang Talk Tottenham, and can only do it with Chang being with me. So Chang disappeared and Chang's come back. Good afternoon to you, Chang. How are you, sir?
I'm doing very well here in Southeast Asia. Jose, thank you so very much for having me back on Tel Cockerel. It's been a good long while since I've last done a Sunday show, either with Queen Ellie or with Miss Ash Padmaraj on a Sunday evening. Somewhere it's about 10 or even 11 a.m. on a Sunday morning in the UK. And yeah, excited to be back on Tel Cockerel and excited myself for match day. It's going to be a 10 p.m. kickoff here in Southeast Asia. I think it's going to be like 1 a.m. over in Australia. The home league game against Bournemouth, but very excited for it. Whatever has transpired in the Netherlands against Alkmaar, that is all but over. So it's another league game, and hopefully Big Ange and the players themselves would be looking to kick on from where they left off in the league against Manchester City. And I really am looking forward to the players themselves putting things to rights and righting some wrongs from that disappointing and dismal first leg in the Netherlands. Senor Garcia. Having said that, back to you, FA.
Right, so there's nowhere else to start but Thursday night. Thoughts? Abject performance? Does that stand?
So yeah, that Thursday night. So well, let me just. I'm not going to have to beat on too much about it because I think everything that needs to be said about that performance, or rather, should I say, the less said about that disappointing performance, the better. But I will just give my final thoughts on it and not go on too long about it. Is that there is still room for improvement, and I mean, we are hoping to see either one of Van der Ven or Romero feature at some point later on this afternoon against Bournemouth. I know that they were on the bench, but neither of them started. And for Solanke, I mean, Solanke has just been hit with another fresh injury, so I think we're going to have to rely on Tel. But other than that, you could see from Thursday itself that what an important and vital player Kulusevski is. Without him running the show, without him pulling the strings, I think we did struggle, and the chances were very few and far between, which I really hope the squad can put things to right today. But yeah, that performance on Thursday was nowhere near good enough, and maybe, just maybe, we were riding a bit of a high from those 3 consecutive league wins against Ipswich United, and also I think was it Brentford? Yeah. So.
But then we've lost. But then we lost to Man City.
Yes, we did. Yes, we did, Jose.
And then we played Thursday.
That is correct. But if the game against City, if the home league loss against City, the previous midweek was a game that we didn't deserve to lose, then I could say that in retrospect, the first leg away against Alkmaar in the Netherlands was a game that we didn't deserve to get anything of it. So in a way, I think it kind of balances itself up, which is why I really am hoping for Big Ange and the players to put things to right today. Because, and I will say this about our final competitive match before an international break, we have rather, it's almost become customary for us to sort of not show up just before a mini international break, whether this is down to the players themselves who are sort of reserving themselves for their own respective national nations, or maybe the players not too sort of up for it when they know that they would rather be playing alongside their fellow national colleagues, as opposed to maybe playing with their club mates. So I really do hope that today we buck the trend, we buckle this trend, and really show up just before the start of another pointless international break. And yes, absolutely looking forward to this afternoon's game against Bournemouth.
Okay, so just before I carry on, because I'm sticking with Thursday night, I'm going to say good morning to Drula. Says good morning, Jose, Chang, and the Cockerel crew. Good morning, Drula. Paige says morning, peeps. Graham's here, says good morning, Jose and Mr. Chang. Hope you're both well. And Mark Taylor says big up Tel. So good morning to all you guys, and those that are watching and that haven't commented. Good morning to you all. Good afternoon or good evening. Chang, Thursday night, my thoughts. How many abject performances can we have in one season? Thursday night was not a one-off. Thursday night is one, I can't even say it's one of many, because when you say a couple, that's two, many could be three or four. These abject performances have gone into the high double, well, they're into double figures and beyond. And for me, I just can't get my head around these abject performances. I can't get my head around it. We have players, to me, that look like they've never played together. They're like passing ships in the night, all these players. It doesn't matter what formation we put out. We look like we've never played together. As we say that, sorry, Colin Blackshaw says, morning, Jose and Chang. Vindaloo says, good morning, still in bed, but I've got a headache, but here to give support and any general input. Smash the lights, people. You can always rely on Vindaloo. It's normal now, these terrible performances, Mark Taylor. So for me, it's just another abject performance. And I'm trying to understand and trying to figure out where these come from. We didn't pose a threat on Thursday night. So it doesn't matter who played up top. We never posed a threat. I thought that in defence, I don't think we were far wrong in defence. I don't think there's much more the defence could have done. The midfield, three didn't click again. Bentancur, Bergvall and Maddison didn't click again. And up front, you might as well not played anybody up front at all for me on Thursday night, because we had nothing. Tel's getting a lot of flack at the moment. And I believe, my personal belief is if people have watched Tel play before, I believe that this is unjust. Tel is not a centre forward. He's just not a centre forward. Tel is a player who's a wide forward or plays out. He's a wide forward. He's not even a winger. He's a wide forward. He plays and he comes in from the left-hand side. So, and that's the position that Sonny currently occupies. That's where Tel plays. But it doesn't matter what mix you have. I thought Odeberg was poor on Thursday night. I thought Johnson was poor. I thought Son was poor. Tel was poor. Doesn't matter who we put up there. I thought they were all poor on Thursday night. But again, I'm going to caveat this to say, this ain't the first time. We've seen this rodeo before. And what's alarming, sorry, just as we go, so the sheriff, Mark Cousins says, good morning. It's not abject, it's crap and out. He's the worst manager I've seen in my 50+ years supporting this team. Right, so as I'm saying, so for me, Thursday night was absolutely awful. And I mean, it's hard for us fans to understand this, and it really is hard, because we don't train the players. We're not behind the scenes. We're not privy to all the medical information. We don't know who's in the red zone, the green zone, the amber zone. We don't know all this. We rely on our manager and coaches to know this. But when the players come out to play, you expect them to play, and they just don't. So, you know, something's amiss. So, with that being said, UTCAD AFC Bournemouth are here. I don't know whether it's Matt that's posting. It says, up the cherries. Hope you're well, Jose. Keep up the great work. Hope to work with you again at some point. We got you today, mate. I remember doing a pre-match show before we played you, and you beat us 1-0 at your gaff. It's Matt. It is Matt. I thought it might be. I wasn't too sure. It is Matt. Matt, I hope you're well, sir. God bless you, mate, and take care. I wish you all the very best, but just not today, Matt, for obvious reasons. But other than that, in life and everything, Matt, I wish you all the best. You're a great guy. So for me, the next talking point, Chang, is it the players? What part are they to blame? And the reason why I say this, I'm going to say this for the players. Song came out and did an interview, Chang, after the game. You could have copied and pasted that interview, right? And you could have done that interview at other parts of this season, because he sounds repetitive and he says the same things. Do you think the message that he comes is being diluted because people just don't believe in that message anymore?
Well, I think there's only so many times you can reuse an excuse, and in this case, I think it's maybe once too often this season, and it's almost become he almost sounds like a broken record too. For far too often, where you just have to wonder where is the leadership coming from. And for me right now, I think it's very he is scraping at the bottom of the barrel right now. Him and Ange and a lot of those other players as well, the Bisumas or the SARS or any of these other players whom we have so high hopes on, but time and time again they have failed to deliver. And to answer your question, is it the players? Yes, I think the players themselves have to share a large part of the blame, because even though tactics are one thing aside, but when the players themselves, they fail to put in a shift and they fail to put in a performance that is worthy of donning lily white in any competition, in any scenario, at any one stage of the season, then I think that is in part a big failure on their shoulders. But then again, it's also the manager's job to have to select his players and select the tactics on the day. And unfortunately, the players that played that day, especially those who started, I felt that given how we weren't playing the previous weekend, because we were already out of the FA Cup, I really thought that he would have gotten the players on the same page with at least some semblance of a formation or even some sort of strategy going forward. Unfortunately, I didn't see any of that on Thursday night. And if that carries on, I think even those 3 consecutive league wins isn't going to keep Big Ange in the job for much longer beyond this summer. He honestly has maybe this game and the second leg of the Europa League to probably just about give himself a shadow of a chance of staying on in the job beyond this summer. But yeah, both him and a lot of those players, especially those which I mentioned, our veterans, shall I call them, the Sons and the Sumas, they are all treading on thin ice. And if we do see something similar today, I think we might even see, drastic changes even during the international break. That depends on the outcome of the game and also the players of how they perform later on this afternoon. But for their sakes and our sakes too, Jose, I really do hope they do turn it around, because looking at, this is no disrespect to the remaining clubs in the Europa League, but you would think that our teams of seasons past, in the past decade or so, they would have a good chance of maybe getting something out of nothing in the Europa League, judging from our opposition. But yeah, it's not looking too good right now, and I really do hope for massive change later on this afternoon. But yeah, the players, they have to take responsibility for that performance on Thursday night, and let's hope that they are the first ones to step up. Even if Big Ange doesn't get his tactics right or his formations right, the players have to step up, Jose, especially at home. I mean, if you can't even get your home form right, then I think the season is all but over. And the same could be same for Big Angel's short-term tenure at Spurs.
So we've got Finn's here. Finn Rickwood says, morning lads. Morning Finn. Vindaloo says, I don't think it's the players. I believe Ange's tactics are making them look bad. You just can't play like Celtic in the Premiership. Nita says, good morning, Jose, Chang and chat. Good morning, Nita. Lee, it's been a minute, mate. Ain't seen you in a while. Hope you're well. Lee Statham TV's here, says hello, everyone. Vindaloo says, when play like that, you leave way too much space when you don't have the ball. And there's people now saying hello to each other, which is quite nice to see. Right. Is it the players part of the blame? I think the players are partly to blame, quite clearly. But there has to be a reason why the players are playing like that. There has to be. Right. And we will. I've got banners ready, Chang, don't worry. So we will discuss everything. But the first part, is it the players? You've given me your opinion on the players. For me, the players, I said earlier on this season, and just a harmless potatoes here, it says Jose and Chang and thumbs up. Good evening to you, just a harmless potato. I hope you're well. The sheriff says, no way we have the 13th best squad in the league, and it's useless. We know we used to have Mark. Carl Simpson says, good morning, gents, and everyone in the chat. Good morning, Carl. I hope you're well, mate. Right. So, as I was saying, with the players, I look at the players. Earlier on this season, I turned around and I said, I don't believe our squad's good enough. Mark's saying, no way is our squad 13th. But I believe that we overhyped the squad that we've got. I think there's glaring holes all throughout our squad. I've said this. You cannot be shy of at least five players in the summer. Yeah, we all. I think we all believe, and I think you're with this as well, Chang, that we were short in the summer. The squad, when the summer transfer window, I thought we were short by 4 or 5 players at least. You then come to the winter transfer window, and you rectify a couple of positions, but you didn't really let players go that needed to go, because probably nobody wanted them. And you didn't bring enough players in the winter, because the players we brought in the winter couldn't cover for the 5 we already missed in the summer. And then with the ones that we're carrying too many passengers at the moment. And for me, okay, we might not be the 13th best squad. We might be a bit higher than that. But to be honest, watching this team play throughout the season and watching the players that we've got and that, I don't think that we should be a lot higher than where we are at the moment, because I don't think our squad's that great. I think that we've got some really good youngsters in Archie Gray and in Lucas Bergvall. Kinski looks a decent goalkeeper as well for me. He's young, looks a decent keeper. But what you're missing, and what we are missing, is them leaders to bring them youngsters along for the ride. And we've been missing that, and it's been glaring all season long. And at the end of the day, if you're a youngster going into a club side, I remember when I first started playing football, and I was put in with the men, should I say, and I was a kid playing football, and I was put in the men. I used to look up to them in awe. I used to look at what they did and the way that they played and the way that they conducted and the way they went about it. And football was way different back then. When I was playing football, that's when you could really, if you was a centre half, you would stud the centre forward to let him know that you were there. If you was a centre forward, you'd go up, elbows flying everywhere, you'd smash into people. You could get away with a lot more than what you do now. In midfield, you'd have biters in midfield that would put their foot in, as well as playing football, you'd have the biters in midfield. Although football's changed, football for me has become too fancy down now, and people are way, way overprotected. And football's become a stop and start game. It's not the flowing, fluid football that I first started playing many, many years ago. And I just believe that the squad that we've got and the players that we've got are not as good as what some people make them out to be. And I said this a hell of a long time ago this season, and I was shot down. It was just a blip. It's just a blip. It's just a poor form. It's just a blip. Well, how many blips do you need to tell me? How many blips do I need to tell myself that I think I was right in what I said earlier in the season? Our squad is just not good enough. And for me, it appears I haven't seen this season, whatever formation, whatever selection we pick, we always look like the three in midfield don't know each other, the three up front are powder puff, and our defence, well, we've never had a steady defence all season. And so when we look at our defence, people will turn around and say, well, it's easy to get behind our fullbacks because of the way that we play. So for me, I think the players are, they should take their portion of blame here. There's no point being substituted, Chang, because you've had a poor game, and then you moan about it on the touchline. But not just the once, you moan about it every time that you've had a bad game, or every time that you've been playing badly, you're not selected. There's no point moaning about it afar. What you need to do is you need to knuckle down and bring out a better version of yourself in order for you to be, one, to be selected, and two, to be kept on the pitch. Yeah. So for me, I think the players take a lot of blame. As we were saying that, Colin, it's always nice to get point of view from other teams. Colin Blackshaw, good morning, mate, says, on what I can see, the recruitment service spending big money on mid to average players. Look who's here. Shemtam. Good morning, Mr. Bossman. How's that? The youngest looking old man, Mr. Chimichanga Chang. Hope you're both well and looking forward to the game. Come on, you Spurs. Good morning, Shemtam. I hope you are well, sir. It's so nice to see you. Then you've got welcome to Levionics from Mark. And then he says 350 million reasons, says they ain't that bad. And Carl Simpson saying this is the problem now. When we were at White Hart Lane, Levy needed Europe to make his money. Now the revenue is one of the best in the world. He doesn't need Europe to make money. So we touched on the players, Chang. There you go. Is it the manager? Is he part of the blame?
All the statistics, all the losses, all the non-performances, even some of his post-match conference replies might suggest, or rather it's a bit maybe too glaringly obvious that he was the wrong choice from the beginning. If his only reply to losing is, I mean, that's the way we are. That's just how we play. That's my team, or rather, that's my tactics. It sounds a bit like Ruben Amorim whenever he comes across as maybe being a bit too stubborn in his approach, or maybe not being too flexible in being able to tinker and toy around with maybe the odd formation change, or maybe a change in players whenever we take on opposition who play differently. But I mean, everything from the losses and his player selections, even the substitutions, I might add, the substitutions and player management would imply that maybe he's a bit too slow to adapt. And in the Premier League, especially when in this day and age, when the fans, the media, the journalists, even the pundits too, who cover the game live, they can be very, very unforgiving. And we've seen once too often managers who maybe they might just need that little bit more time afforded to them, but unfortunately, because of the climate of modern sports, not just football in general, but sports, the moment you are not performing, the moment you are not living up to expectations, you then get the X. And we just have to look at Nuno and what he's doing right now at Nottingham Forest. That 1-0 win for Nuno over City yesterday. How we wish that was us a week ago I should say, the previous midweek when we ourselves hosted City at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. And then you have to compare that with how quick we ourselves were so ready to get rid of Nuno in favor of Conte. So yes, the manager is partly to blame, but then again, the hierarchy, the board and Levy, they didn't really cover themselves. In this case, when you look at the summer transfer window that you mentioned earlier, the players that we brought in didn't really cover those critical positions that you felt needed immediate upgrades or immediate replacements. And even when we did get players, the Solankis and the Odabirs, I think they came in far too late. They could have been bought just before preseason, but instead they missed out completely on preseason, and that had a big effect on Odabeer. So yes, the manager himself is partly to blame, or rather he has a massive part to play in the downturns of our fortunes this season. But yeah, the hierarchy themselves, the board of directors, they too, even Lang or even Mann, if they are in charge of the transfers, they too have something to say about this. But yeah, the manager, I felt, especially given the way we started so brightly this season and last season, where it suddenly tailed off, almost fell off a cliff, not just because of the few suspensions or injuries, but maybe the lack of substitutions and the inability to tinker with strategy. That is completely down to Big Ange. And if we do see something similar again today, this afternoon against Bournemouth, we never know. We might not even be seeing Big Ange after the international break. So if he wants to stay in the job, yeah, today is almost say it like it's a must win this afternoon against Bournemouth if he wants to have any chance to be even able to see out the second leg against Alkmaar. Back to you, Jose.
So you have, so whilst you've been talking, we have, Mark says 18 losses this season, acceptable. Robbie from Lily White Lane says, morning, Jose, Chang, and all in the chat. Good morning, Robbie, mate. I hope you are well and feeling better, my friend, and coming back to your usual self. Truda says, that's who we are, mate. Are you not entertained? Carl says, I never wanted it to be as I backed Ange from the start, but the stats don't lie and are a major factor. And he's a major factor, sorry. Shentan says, don't listen to any of his presses anymore because I don't believe a word he says. Carl then says, what I will say is his passive-aggressive responses don't cut it in the Premier League. Vindaloo says, the strong indication was when you were attacking with 9 men against Chelsea. I have never seen that before. Mark just simply says, just cut the chase. Cut to the chase. He's useless. Drew says, how many managers are we going to blame? I'm not saying he's not to blame. This has been an ongoing thing at our club. Chris Agenbar, good morning, sir, says, big up, Jose, and Chidima man, Mr. Chang. Good morning to you. It's not a difficult one. I mean, it's quite clear, the losses and stuff like that. But you look, have the hierarchy changed, Chang? I'm going to say, for the manager's point of view, I'm going to say this. Have they changed? Because in the past, we fought managers in, and forever and a day, we're always going to say the managers haven't been back. All right, we're all going to say that. Doesn't matter who the manager was. Going back to the beginning of Enoch's time, they have never been. We're all going to say they've never been back. You talked about Nuno earlier. When Nuno came to Tottenham, Nuno's come from Wolves, where they played a 3-5-2 counter-attacking football style. They played at Wolves, I think, under him. Successful at Wolves doing that, but people found, people looked for style rather than substance, and a lot of fans felt that Nuno's style of football would not fit Tottenham, and therefore the fans were against him when he first came. However, Nuno, when he previously managed in Spain, Valencia, he played 4-4-2 attacking football. So I think it comes down to the players that you've got, and he adapts to the system. He's gone to Nottingham Forest now, and at Forest, they've bought wisely. They've bought players that fit the system he plays. And in his in-game management, he changes from a 4-4-2 to then a 3-4-3 or a 3-5-2, depending on where he is result-wise. So when they were leading against Man City yesterday, every time that they're leading, right, and they go in the lead, to hold on to that lead, he changes. He changes from the 4-4-2, and he brings Morata on, goes to a back three, brings on Yates to solidify the midfield. So he makes the adaptations and changes. And I think that comes down to the hiring of the players, or the players they brought in to suit the system that he plays. You've got other managers that have managed at Tottenham, and they haven't been given the players that they need, because we bought the win now managers, and they didn't get the players they need. You go back as far as Poch, he went through nearly two seasons without being able to transfer anyone in either. However, we now get to Ange Postecoglou, and we get to Ange Postecoglou, and there's no doubt that the results-wise, he's worse than all the other managers. There's no getting away from that fact. He has got the worst results out of all the other managers. And the bite sizes that you've got is Mourinho was with us for about 18 months. Conte was about 18 months. Ange has been just over 18 months, I believe, now. And then you've got someone, you go as far back as Poch, who had 5 or 6 seasons. Harry Redknapp probably had about 18 months. So when you look at it, you've got a nice bite size now, and the results wise and the wins ratio and that, Ange is by far the worst. But the board are not acting like they did before. The board, for far less than what Ange has done, the board would have already jumped ship, sacked the manager, brought another manager in. But for some reason, and it's only the hierarchy will know, they've changed the modus operandum with Ange. So with Ange, he's been allowed to bring, or whoever it is that brings the players in, have brought the players in that we've bought, which I still think were woefully short. And the results are not going our way. And Ange is still here and in a job. So is it that 20 odd years of doing the same rinse and repeat cycle, the penny dropped, you can't keep doing that? And now with Ange, they're I don't know, they're backing him, because they're backing. The thing is, we're never going to find this out, because we'll never get told at board level what's going on. But is it that they've got this plan of revamping and reorganizing the whole squad going forward, and until that's done, Ange will be with us, and then once that's done, then Ange leaves and another manager comes in and picks up the reins on what we've got? I don't know. I can't put my finger on it. But to say Ange came out after the game on Thursday night, and again, a bit like Sonny, because I'm not just going to pick on Sonny on the players' side, but a bit like Sonny, Ange said, yeah, we just couldn't get to grips with the game. It's the first time I ever heard, yeah, we didn't pick players because the pitch wasn't that great. And you heard again, I heard Ange again say such similar things to what he has said in the past. So to me, there's an issue. There's got to be an issue there, and that's why I think the players have got to take blame, but I think the manager's got to take blame as well, because he's coming out saying the same excuses that what Son did. So, that's where I am with that. But just before I pass over to you again, Chang, we've got comments coming in saying, Drew says, how many managers are we going to blame? I'm not saying he's not to blame. This has been an ongoing thing at our club. David Clark, good morning, David. I hope you're well. Says, I smelt Spurs' future in last year's Chelsea game. I've watched football at the highest level since 1960, and I can say with hand on heart, I can. So no coach in world football would have done that. I think he's referring to the Chelsea game. Colin Bradshaw says Thomas Frank would do a good job. Players love him, and they would put that bit extra in each match. Do you know what? I will talk about other managers in a minute, Chang. Well, a bit later. Hold on. Nita says we have no long-term plans at our club. Where the football side comes, I think she means first. We are still spinning around season after season. Mark says Ange has been backed more than any other. If Poch had this, we would have won the league. David Clark says Nuno was shown the door at Spurs in humiliating fashion, with Spurs fans saying he was clueless and out of his depth. He goes to Forest with lesser players and he's third, so it's down to Daniel Levy. Have they got lesser players though? I'm not too sure. You look at their two centre-halves, stand out. You look at their two full-backs in Aina and Nico Williams, stand out. You look at their front, the three behind Chris Wood's been stand out because he scored so many goals. But then you look at the three behind them in Elanga, Hudson-Odoi and Morgan Gibbs-White, stand out. I don't think our players are better than their players. This is what I'm saying. I think people overrate our players and have done since the start of the season. I don't believe that our players are as great as what people make them out to be. And I said this at the start of the season. And the more and more I see now, the more I think I'm justified in that comment that I made at the beginning of the season. Eugene's here, says, hi, everyone. Big up, Levy out. Good evening to you, Eugene. I hope you're well, sir. Just a harmless potato says, fans wanted Poch gone. Serial loser took us as far as he could. Mourinho is finished. Conte not the right fit. Nuno was as clueless as Ange. But the truth is none of these managers are the problem, says just a harmless potato. So just a harmless potato is putting it squarely at the door of the board. Vindaloo says Poch is good, I must admit. The problem is that the board refusing to buy and pay players quality, says just a harmless potato. Pep would not win anything at Spurs, is also what he says. Vindaloo says your wage structure needs changing so you can attract better players. Paige been quiet for a while, but she's piped up now, says Pep would demand Spurs spending, otherwise he wouldn't even sign. Tequila is here. Good morning, sir. I hope you are well, says big up Jose and Chang. Hope you guys are well. Likewise to you, Tequila, mate. I hope you're well, sir. Vindaloo says we both have issues with our owners, really. And Paige says exactly, potato. If the kick Mourinho out, will not put it past them to do the same with Pep. Drew says I don't think anyone comes in will make a difference. Levy and the board, who has been destroying our club, need to go. And the sheriff says if we had signed Forest players, our fans would have gone into meltdown. I would have done. I liked Hudson-Odoi. Listen, I called Hudson-Odoi when he was at Chelsea. I just didn't think he would come to Tottenham. But he had such a fall for grace at Chelsea, Hudson-Odoi. They let Hudson-Odoi go for 3 million. Put that in your cigarette and start smoking it. Hudson-Odoi joined Forest for 3 million. Elanga left Man United because he felt they would get more opportunity at Forest, and they got him on the cheap as well. Morgan's Gibbs-White, they signed for 42 million from Wolves. Gibbs-White has shown more than Maddison this season for me. At the end of the day, I wouldn't have shot down the players that they've got. Milenkovic, centre half, Milenkovic is not a surprise to anyone. Everybody knew about Milenkovic, but the only people that took a punt on him, and they got him relatively cheap, were Forest. You look at Nico Williams, he was at Liverpool, so people knew about Nico Williams. He was playing for Wales when he was really, really young. You know, he's playing national football when he was really, really young. So people knew about him. Aina, he was at Chelsea. Chelsea kept sending him out on loan and stuff like that. So these players are not known about. These players are all known about. And Forest went out and they've built a really good squad. I'm not going to sit here and turn around and say, we have a better squad than blah, 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 because I don't believe we have. But I said this earlier on in the season. I think that we hype up our players too much. And I don't think that our squad is anywhere as good as some of the other squads that are in the Premiership. What are your thoughts, Chang, on the other squads? Do you think we're overhyping our squad, or do you think some of the other teams we don't give them enough credit because they have got decent squads?
Well, if you talk in terms of our own squad, yes, I do agree with you that some of the players are a bit overhyped, especially those that are yet to be proven in the Premier League. And especially when you have someone like Ange himself, who was never once managed in the Premier League, then I think that in itself is really a sort of, you could call it a formula for disaster. Getting players who've never played in the Premier League with a manager who's never managed the Premier League is why we have this sort of performances that we had on Thursday night against Alkmaar. Yes, I know it's an away game. Yes, I know it's a European game, but that kind of non-performance or a no-show from both the manager and the players points to the failure of our players and why they are underrated. And if you were to compare that to say different teams or different squads, then you could see why a club like Nottingham Forest, despite operating on arguably a smaller budget compared to Spurs, are able to get the most out of players and to get them on the cheap as well, which then speaks highly of the way they operate in terms of their recruitment. The way Nuno is himself a good manager, whom I thought we were rather a bit too over-eager to pull the trigger on him so that we can get Conte in the moment Conte was available. And this is why you really have to be careful when buying young or buying cheap, because you could say that there is no one true formula as to which players or which what is the best buying price you can get for a player given their market value or even given their talent. But this Premiership, or rather this modern era of the Premier League, has proven that you don't really necessarily need to spend big to get good players. But at that same token, not all of those big money signings turn out to be good signings, and this has actually become a bit too this is cropped up once too often at Spurs. Even since the Darren Bent days, the Roberto Soldado days, even Davinson Sanchez and Richarlison too. And now suddenly we find ourselves with another Solanke and possibly even a Tel, whom I think we are still not getting the most of their return for what we paid for them. But hopefully both Solanke and Tel was still able to turn it around. But yeah, we haven't signed badly, but neither is the recruitment doing great. And if you compare that to maybe the likes of Forest or even Brentford, possibly even West Ham too, for that matter, come to think about it, they might have made better signings. And yeah, this is why we should never hype up the players. But they always say that the grass is greener on the other side, and this is why more often than not, I choose not to make too many comparisons with other teams and other squads, and I focus solely on Tottenham Hotspur and our players and our coaching staff. And I think all of those players, they can do so much more better, as can Big Ange himself if he's not too stubborn with his tactics. So moving forward, I really do hope that the players and the coaching staff can turn it around. But I would say that time is running out. It's quickly running out, and this season itself is running out of games for all of those players that I mentioned earlier on the show, and for Big Ange to rectify the matter. But hopefully today, this afternoon against Bournemouth, hopefully it will be the first step in trying to rectify a lot of those problems. But their time is running out, Jose. And if something doesn't happen too soon, that's what I mentioned earlier. A lot of those players, maybe even Big Ange, they might not even be in the reckoning after the mini international break.
Right, David Clark says Redknapp's last game, the team was Friedel, Walker, Gallus, Cabal, Bale. Sandro, Livermore, Modric, Van der Vaart, Lennon, Adebayor. Now compare that team with our present team and tell me we haven't regressed. We progressed, definitely under Poch, because if you look at the lineup that Poch had, we definitely progressed under Poch. Have we regressed? Regressed is one way of putting it, or are we not playing to our potential? Is another way of looking at it as well. But everybody has an opinion, everybody has a view, and I'm not going to poo-poo anyone's view or opinion. I'll leave it to people to decide whether they believe we've regressed or we're just not playing the potential or whatever it may be. Vindaloo says, could it be Levy's in the process of selling the club because normally he's trigger happy? I believe the club is being sold. My personal opinion. So I believe that the club's being sold. I believe that we're a matter of a few weeks away of being told what's going on, and I think the sale will take place in and around the summer, or around by the time the summer transfer window comes. I think we will have new owners. What that looks like at the moment, it appears that it may look like that Levy stays on, but you're bringing a load of football people in that want the football. The word on the street is the Qataris, the ones that are coming in to buy Tottenham, and it's the conglomerate or the amalgamation of wealthy business owners in the Qatari rather than the Qatari royal family. Because there were some people saying that it could be the people from PSG because they've got a problem in France, so they want to leave France and they're looking for another club. But all in all, whatever happens, I think the club does get sold. And it will be the football club in its entirety, lock, stock in its entirety. I'm not sure whether selling the football club means it. I don't know whether you get the hotels and everything like that, but the football club will definitely be sold, is what my thoughts are, my personal belief. Anyway, Peter Kagayas is here. It says, good morning. It says, hi, 8:40 in Melbourne. Peter, I must think that you must be working. If you're saying it like that, I think you're working. Let me know. And he's gifted out 5 channel memberships. It's very kind of you, Peter. But let me know. I think you're at work. And they've gone to Chris Peters, the Footy Channel Groundhopper, Just a Harmless Potato, Queen Ellie, and Mark Taylor. And I think some of these people have already thanked Peter already, and we'll come to that. Nita says, Levy's making money for Enoch, the bigger picture. Levy needs to step aside from all footballing matters. We are going nowhere. Just a Harmless Potato thanked Peter. Mark Taylor has thanked Peter. And the Footy Channel Groundhopper has also thanked Peter. So thank you very much, guys, for thanking Peter. Peter is a gent. Chantal says, not about managers, it's recruitment. Ours is terrible, and I still hate our coaches. What team brings in coaches that have been fired from Hibernian? There's a lot to be said about that statement. Drew says, a manager can adapt to any league and manage. That's just an excuse. He's not managed in the Prem before. Anjin and out. What do you think will change, says Nita? Carl says, we have spent big for years, but the problem is 90% of the time it's completely the wrong player. Shem Tam, again, our whole coaching and recruiting system has become useless, but it's what you get if you go down the cheap route to save a buck. Carl Simpson says, my heart says we will win today, but Bournemouth are so well drilled, I can see them smashing us. Okay, there's just 2 different statements there. You can see us beating Bournemouth, but they're well drilled and they'll smash us. Good morning, Jesse. She says, morning, Jose Chang. Come on, you Spurs. Good morning, Jess. I hope you are well. The sheriff doesn't sit on the fence. It's Andy's the worst manager I've ever seen. Sorry, seen with us. Eugene says, we have been regressing since the first 10 games of Angie's tenure. So, yeah, Peter is working. Peter, I hope it goes as well as possible, saving lives and making people feel better out in Oz. if we smash AZ coming Thursday, it means we rigged the previous legs as you did. And then you've got good evening, Norman. I hope you're well, mate. It says good evening, guys from Oz. Hang in there, everybody. I'm just trying to build a castle, but the fan base just want a shack because it's raining. Come on, you Spurs. Right. So the next banner I had ready for us was, I want your point of view on this, Chang. Do we have tactics? And if so, do you think the players believe in them?
I think we have one form of tactic, or rather a general semblance of a tactic, which is to just go gung-ho and play this suicidally high defensive line that is just so porous and easy to cut us open apart. We do have a tactic, but tactics is where I think is severely lacking, especially when it comes to changing tactics partway or rather midway during a game, which is where Big Ange himself has been found out more often than not, both in Europe and domestically. And as far as for the players themselves, I think they do believe in him, because I think it was Kulusevski who came out in the press conference. I think it was just before we went on that run of those 3 consecutive recent league wins, whereby he said we have the players and we have the strategy. It's just that we don't have all the key players back to carry out, to enforce Big Ange's tactics. And for a short while, that actually was the case when we got so many of these players back from the injuries, and we were suddenly starting to win games, despite being knocked out of the domestic cups in a matter of days. But again, you could see on Thursday, especially with Kulusevski missing, if we have 1 or 2 key players who are out, then the whole system doesn't work. And when that does, when that system does not work, but the manager himself insists on still playing in a certain way without his key players, then you could say that we do not have a plan B to fall back onto. And I honestly feel that that is Big Ange's single biggest undoing, and it might prove to be what actually gets him sacked this coming summer, especially if he fails to turn things around against Alkmaar. But I really am hoping, especially now that we have Van der Ven and Romero back, that we can actually get proper centre backs in defense to hopefully not only shore up our defense, but to offer something different in set pieces, because we were severely missing their height and their presence in set pieces. And you just need only look at the set piece, that first half set piece against Alkmaar, to know that even our set pieces are a shambles. So the tactics are a shambles, the set pieces, whether it's taking them or defending against them, are a shambles. And the players only believe in the tactics when things are going right for them. And when they are under the cosh, it just feels like we have no way back in. That there is there's not a plan B to sort of salvage anything from a losing position. And I think the results and also the performances this season speak for themselves. But again, as I mentioned earlier, I really do hope that this changes soon before the second leg against Alkmaar. But as far as tactics is concerned, I'm sorry to say, Jose, we are very, very stagnant, and you could almost say that we are far too predictable, and far too many teams have been able to carve us open so easily. Let's just hope that with our key 2 centre backs back from injury, we will be able to sort of get some stability, especially in defense, and not be able to concede silly, easy goals, whether it's a Bergvall own goal or goalkeeping errors. But yeah, as far as tactics is concerned, I'm sorry, Jose, we are far too wooden, and I really do hope something changes today against Bournemouth, and I really do hope the players that come out, in whether it's their starting 11 or the bench players, they believe in whatever tactics we have in store for Bournemouth, and that they themselves put in a proper shift. Having said that, back to you.
So what I'm going to say, Chang, is that I heard you mentioned Amarin before, right? So I'm going to try. So on this channel, try to be open and look at all different views and not just bash the drum with the same beat all the time. If I look at someone like, forget, people are going to say, yeah, but they're more elite managers. But if I look at someone like Klopp, I look at Arteta, I look at Pep. Basically, people are talking about Iraola, people are talking about Thomas Frank, people talk about Marco Silva and these managers. The one thing that they never wavered from is their belief and their thought on how football should be played. Yeah. So I suppose the difference is that all these team managers that I mentioned and all these teams, the only difference that I can see, should I say, Chang, is that they brought in their coaches to all these clubs. We're the only team out of all the ones that I've mentioned that the manager didn't bring his own coaches. So with Manchester City, when Pep came, he brought in his coaches with him, and it didn't transform Man City in the first season. It took them a couple of seasons, but they had a way of playing football, they had a way of setting up. They were coached in a certain way, and they've gone on to be successful. Arteta brought his own coaches in, and Arteta has been shown 8th, 5th, 2nd. So their trajectory is going up. They haven't crossed the line with a trophy yet, but their trajectory is going up. Own coaches. Klopp, when he came in, didn't revolutionise and change it overnight. He had Pep Linders with him and the coaching staff that he brought to Liverpool, and it took them a while, but he brought his own coaches in, and Liverpool had a style of playing football. They got to where they got with Klopp. Klopp then leaves, Slot comes in, doesn't have to change the players. I think they only bought Chiesa in on loan. Chiesa in, yeah, on loan. They haven't bought, or did they buy Chiesa? They might have bought Chiesa at the summer, but that's the only difference they made. And he's picked up a squad that Klopp had prepared and run with it. Look what's going on at Liverpool. You can do that with most clubs. The only thing is Amarin has bought his own coaching staff, but Amarin's not going to do it within 6 months. To play Amarin's style of football, you have to have either players need to fall in line with the way that he plays, or they need to go out and buy players that are going to be ready-made for the system that he's got. So with Ange has been with us for nearly 2 years now. I'm a firm believer that what I'll say to you, Chang, you've been a supporter for many years as well, and so have a lot of people in the chat. Do you remember Ozzy? Was you a Tottenham supporter when Ozzy Ardiles was our manager?
Yes, I was, Jose. But wow, that was what, 3 decades ago, I think, or maybe even more than 3 decades. This definitely before Hoddle for sure. And yeah, it was such a long time ago. But Ardiles is, I will say this about Ardiles and the team he had, even the owners he had back then. He came in at the wrong time, if that makes any sense, just as we were, I think, transitioning from the old first division to the new Premier League. And that in itself, I think, was a bit too much to ask from our former player to make that big leap into managing us, especially given him and his own managerial record. I don't think he managed a big team like Spurs up until then.
No, he hadn't. He hadn't. It's his first job. But what I'm trying to get to, Chang, what I'm trying to get to is, if you watched our dealers, I'm seeing a lot of people in the chat. You've made comments to this already, that if plan A doesn't work, we don't seem to have a plan B. Well, if we go back to our dealers, because someone's put in here, the only plan that we've got is to try and win 5-4. Someone's put a comment in there. So what I'm trying to say is that if everyone remembers our dealers when he managed at Tottenham, okay, our dealers had Sheringham, Klinsmann, Anderton, Barmby, Dumitrescu. I mean, these players were solid players in the world back then. Football was played differently, but when you watch Tottenham under our dealers didn't have a plan, did he? Our dealers was, we score more goals than you. That was the plan. We score more goals than you. And it just seems to be that we've got another manager at the moment who has the same philosophy. We score more goals than you, and that wins the game.
I mean, honestly, if you were to look at the last 3 decades or so of Spurs football, I think there's always, you could say that in many ways, that's always been our philosophy, even under AVB and Redknapp. And it was only just yesterday when I was watching highlights from 2007, I think it was, when we won that crazy home game against Reading. I think the final score was 6-4, and Berbatov scored 4 that day. It was almost like every single attack resulted in a goal, which is why the game ended 6-4 in our favor. And even the games against Wigan under Redknapp, where we won 9-1, or the other one, which was if I'm not mistaken, it was the 4-4 draw. The 4-4 draw against Woolwich at the Emirates, where Lennon scored that last gasp equalizer. We've always had this philosophy of playing attractive football, even if it means leaving ourselves very open at the back. But the teams of the past, as you mentioned, under Ardias, when we had the likes of Jurgen Klinsmann, Teddy Sheringham, even a Ginola, oh no, not Ginola,
Anderton, Barmby,
Darren Anderton, Nick Barmby, Darren Anderton.
Yiga Popescu was at back. Yiga Popescu played at the back.
Yeah, so those players, they knew how to get the ball forward, and they could put the ball in the back of the net, which is why United came in for Sheringham, if you remember that. And Sheringham and Klinsmann, they really forged a good partnership for us up front. Almost the same way you could say the same about Kane and Son, or maybe even Defoe and Keane. But sadly, in the past 2 seasons under Big Ange, the moment we sold Kane, the moment we sold Kane to Bayern, you could see that we really are struggling. Even with Richarlison, bought in for 60 million, didn't really work out too well for us. I mean, I'm not going to judge Slanky just yet. He hasn't even completed 1 whole season with us. But yeah, I mean, the fans can only be patient for so long with big money signings. The same way you could say the same about, say, Soldado or Darren Bentz. But those teams of the past, they had players who could score. And sadly, under Big Ange, if you were to rely solely on Son, and maybe the odd goal at the far post by Johnson, then I think we are going to struggle. And we have struggled massively, not only this season, but even last season as well, after those first 10 games under Big Ange. And until this is rectified, Jose, I think it's going to be more of the same, regardless of the manager in charge, if we don't have the kind of players who can put the ball in the back of the net. So hopefully, if we do limp over this season without looking too bad on the financial side as well on the footballing side, we should then be able to get a long-term replacement for Richarlison, assuming we can even get him out the door. But yeah, until this is rectified, Jose, I doubt it that we will be able to outscore anyone anytime soon, given our inability to even get the ball forward, let alone score.
But I've got 10 minutes of chat to catch up with, so let's just catch up. So you've got Carson says Anne's management skill at Spurs is as leaky as Old Trafford. DC says when there is a lack of cohesion in a team on a consistent basis, and I'm sorry, it's down to poor coaching. Jesse, I hope, Jess, you are well. We all stand with you that you're not well at the moment, and that I hope it rectifies itself. I hope that anything that they can do for you, whether it's a medication change or anything they can help you with going forward, will improve your health. But we are all with you, Jess, and I can see a lot of comments going in from you in the chat. So big love to you, Jess. And again, I know what it is. You're just keeping a brave face on everything. There's a lot going on, and you're trying to make everyone happy. And I understand why you do it, and I understand that you probably bring happiness and joy to others, but you need to be happy and joyous as well yourself. So I hope that whatever these medics can do for you, that they do help you going forward. The sheriff says all out attacks is the only tactics. Win 5-4 every game. There's no thought of defending. This is what I was seeing. This is why I was talking about the Ardidas stuff. Peter Kagaya says that, yeah, he's on a private shift tonight into hospital transfers. Hopefully it's quiet and I can watch the match. Peter, I'm sure you always find the way, sir. You seem to be like a person that is always got a solution. David Clark, Andy's substitutions tell me that this coach has no clue when his team is losing. Late in the game, his substitutions are more baffling. Nita says, we have no structure at the football club. Liverpool and them ass up the road have structure, with or without trophies. That's why they are always around the top of the Premiership. Just a harmless potato. I think the coaches are a problem. Usually coaches and managers bring their own staff who know their ideas and how to implement them. Ange didn't do that. We kept our assistant coaches. David Clark says, AZ Alkmaar will come to the lane with exactly the same tactics. The coaching staff have obviously looked closely at how we play and looked at how our opponents have beaten us, and they are employing the same. And then he says, the potato says again, add to that the obsession from the board to play entertaining football. If it ends with us defending at the halfway line with 2 men down versus Chelsea, then we've gone too far. Carl Simpson, our fullbacks are going to shit themselves when Semenya and Cliver are running at the Sheriff. We built a 1 billion stadium to regress after we were told it was a game changer. Levy out. Norman says, I don't believe Ange has the players yet to make Ange ball work. His entire spine players have been missing for over 2 months. We have, and I can't see any next comment, so I can't read out what the next part would be. David Clark says Spurs have purchased players and put them into positions in our team that they've never played at their previous clubs. This tells me this club is useless. Just a harmless potato then says they bought Chiesa for 15 minutes at the very end of the window, but he's been mostly injured. Yeah, but what I was trying to get to, just a harmless potato, is that Klopp was given time to implement ideas and that he weren't going to waver from them. He got given the time to implement new ideas, bought his own coaching team with him and left Liverpool. Slot comes in with his own coaches and that, and only buys 1 player because he didn't have to change the squad that they've got because they've got the squad there already. Changes 1 player, they're top of the league. Taigaro says, good evening, Jose, Mr. Chang, and all in the chat. It's been a while. I hope everyone's happy and well. Good evening to you, Taigaro. Nice to see you, mate. Nice to see you. Ronnie's there. Ronnie says, good morning to you, Ronnie. Says famous 5 cleans with Sherham and Barnby and Dumitrescu. And Eugene says, will Ange put out a strong team against Bournemouth, or does it really matter who plays? David Clark says, my thoughts go back to the purchase of Soldado, who was a fantastic finisher, a target man who scored great headers and fantastic volleys because he had wingers at Spurs and we played inverted wingers. David Clark again says Ange isn't even playing the same way as when he first came because we are not pressing at the front consistently or in groups, yet we are still conceding goals. Mark just simply says Harry's not even comparable to this clown. Vindaloo says, Nita, we're pants too. No ambition. We will never get over the line. Where's our striker? Cronky's out. Message for you, Chang, from Eugene says, every time when I am in your area, it's late at night. Does that make you a night owl then, Eugene? Carl Simpson says, I love Son, but might as well sold him at the same time as Kane. He has done nothing since. The Sheriff then says, Harry made us solid first and took us from bottom of the league to Champions League in 18 months. David Clark says, those Romanian Spurs players said that they had neck ache because in midfield, all they saw was a ball flying over their heads because we never played it through the midfield. We just hit the front men. Angie's doing the opposite to Harry, says the Sheriff. Graham says, got to go. See you later. Come on, you Spurs. Reminder to smash the like and subscribe buttons. Take care, Graham. I hope you are well. And there's a lot of love coming in from Jess, from people again, which is good to see. David Clark, if Solanke doesn't play, then it's down to our poor medical staff because it was just the keeper's raised knee into Solanke's back. So just an impact injury and nothing else. Carl Simpson, one of our biggest spine players, only wants to be fit for internationals. I wonder who he's talking about. The irony with the coaches, Ange had one World Cup coach in VO. One WC coach.
World class. He means we had one world class.
Okay. World class coach in VO, and got rid of him because he had a way of doing it that didn't fit Ange's coaching philosophy. Vindaloo has put in a super chat, says, Jose, for all the hard work you put in, mate, and there's anything you can do for me pushing up the table, just blink twice, mate. See you later. Vindaloo, you have been climbing up that league. You've been doing really, really well. You've been no help from no one else. You've been doing really, really well. I'm just trying to see how you've done this week. I know that you put them in the comment after the show. Not the best week for you so far, but it's not the best week for many people so far. Although there's one person who already has. I was checking this last night. I couldn't believe it. I had to blink twice. There's one person who's got 4, 5, 6, 7, 10. He's got 17 points already with 4 games to go. This person has smashed it. There's nobody anywhere near this one person this week at the moment. He's got 4 greens and 5 oranges already for this week. So, yeah, there's one person that's head and shoulders above everybody else. But thank you very much, Vindaloo. But you do it yourself, mate. You've done it yourself. You've climbed up this league doing it yourself. And Tigaro has gifted 5 channel memberships. Very, very kind of you, Tigaro. I need to see who they've gone to. They've gone to Howard Ailes, who's an Arsenal supporter. They've gone to Michelle Zachariah, who's a Man United supporter. They've gone to Sleepy Mocker, Gamecock, and We Are Spurs TV. So thank you very much for that as well. Then you've got Lee. Let's Dragon guy says hello all. Good morning to you. Let's Dragon. Just a harmless potato says Slot also uses pretty much the same system as Klopp, but has a more controlled approach. They score the first goal and sit back. Klopp would go for the second and the third. David Clark says, I'm not seeing anything like entertaining football. It's sideways, backwards. We have only one player who runs at opponents on a consistent basis, and that is Spence. This, a player who Ange had no belief in. Carl Simpson says, I haven't had a bad start, but was fuming with Marseille last night, says Carl. I only saw one person's, Carl, so now you're going to draw my attention to you. Carl, you're way off. We are all way off this one person at the moment, I'm afraid. We're all way off. Shentan, well, I'm not even playing, and I beat is 3 oranges with my 5 apples and 2 pears, says Shentan. Cool, Shen. And then he's done it there. Look at that. He's 3 pears. He's got 3 pears, Shentan. Right, moving on to, I've got 2 more questions to go for you, Chang, because we said we were going to try and do this by 10:30. Says, I'm asking you, what do you expect today and going forward And I think what I'm going to talk about is set the European game aside. What do you expect from today against Bournemouth and going forward, but not including the European game, because that's the last question.
I think it is paramount for us to not lose 3 consecutive competitive matches since the home league loss against City. That I think has to be first and foremost on everyone's minds right now. Not only the players and not even the coaching staff, or even not even on the owners' mind, but even on, for us fans as well. I think we have to stop the rot. I mentioned very much earlier at the beginning of the show, Jose, that we didn't deserve to lose against City, but neither did we deserve to hit anything away against Alkmaar. So hopefully today is going to be the reverse of those two last consecutive defeats to City and to Alkmaar, because as I also mentioned earlier, we historically have not been doing too well just before a mini international break, and this isn't even on edge. To be honest with you, this actually goes way back to I think it was even during Mourinho's time, when we were just losing for the fun of it before the mini international break. And someone, let me just find out who it was. Someone did mention that we do have a player or two who sort of reserves himself for his national squad just before the mini international break. Again, I too am not going to mention any names, but yeah, I mean when it's happened once too often and it's starting to form a pattern, a very recognizable and almost a predictable pattern for this one single international player, then I mean you really have to ask yourself where the loyalties lie. So if this player is playing for us today and he does start the game, or even if he does come off the bench, I really do hope that this player gives his all and not sort of reserve himself for his national team if he feels that his loyalties are to his country and not to the club. So in this, with this thought in mind, Jose, I honestly hope that we stop the rot. I would gladly take a draw now, because we know that we can't get relegated, but neither are we going to qualify for Europe in the league. I think what is more important for me is that we put in a performance, put in a proper shift, not repeat the same mistakes a few nights prior in the Netherlands against Alkmaar. But more than anything, I really hope that Big Ange himself has the smarts to make earlier substitutions, to try and tinker around with the squad now that he has players back. And if you look at the bench, from the last couple of games, where we actually have fit senior players to call upon rather than under 21s or under 18s, the way we beat, I think it was Elfsborg, when we beat Elfsborg with those 3 late goals from our 3 youngsters. We actually have proper seniors to call upon, and those seniors really need to step up. So the 2 things which I'll say: we need to stop the rot, avoid a 3rd consecutive competitive defeat today. The players have to really step up massively if they are to stand any chance of being considered for the second leg against Alkmaar. And Big Ange himself needs to know when to make those key substitutions early on in the game, and not wait to the last minute where things are, beyond repair and beyond salvageable. So yeah, I think it's very important for us to bounce back. But a big win will go a long way to sort of justifying what Son and Ange said in their post-match conference, saying that we didn't really do well enough to get anything against Alkmaar. And I really am hoping for a different post-match conference today from Big Ange and Son, if they do feature in them. And more than anything too, I'm hoping for a fantastic end to this weekend, so that we have a stress-free mini international break without having to sort of stew over yet another defeat before mini international break. Having said that, Jose, if you ask me what we should do going forward, I think we really should take a long, hard look at this season and where we went wrong. And this is not only on big Ange and the players, it's even for the owners, the board and the hierarchy, especially when it comes to those late signings in the summer and also in the winter, where I thought we could have done the business so much earlier, and that would really have helped not only big Ange but the squad, and also give us fans something to cheer about and look forward. But yeah, on the whole, Jose, I really do hope that we turn things around today and that we get our act together from top to bottom in this club, because honestly, it's not all doom and gloom, but it's not looking pretty. So hopefully that changes today, Jose.
Interesting take. Right. So you've got Carl Simpson says, when we find out the person, Jose, it's going to be the easiest predictions as we will be copying. I just had a quick look, Carl. This person's on 17. We've got one person on 12 at the moment. There's about 3 or 4, I think, on 10. Everybody else is in single digits. That shows you how far ahead this one person is this week. And this person hasn't been person of the week, I don't think, at all season. So it's just going to be if they carry on and they are person of the week, it will be a new person of the week, so to speak, for this week. Let's Dragon Guys says, playing out from the back against teams who go into a low block is probably worse than Conte ball, unfortunately. Johnny is here, says, good morning, Sheriff, morning, Sir Jose, Sir Chang and Don Jose. And then also says, glory, glory, Tottenham Hotspurs. We are all pumped up today. We're all in a fight now for the league and the Euro Cup. Tigara is simple. He says, it's actually pretty simple. We need to get more physical, no falling over, edging for pens, etc. We need to be aggressive and much harder at the ball and the man. Johnny also says, today will be the game that we all see the fighting cock spirit. Time for the stadium to get rocking. On them comments that have been made there, what I'm going to say is, for my point of view on this, what do I expect today? I expect changes. If we didn't get changes from Thursday night's game, then I ain't sure what is going on with the manager. I'd expect changes. With the scenario about Romero, are people judging Romero too harshly? Because Romero and Van der Ven have both been back in training and have not been selected by the manager. They've been on the bench for the last game, but they weren't selected by the manager. So at the end of the day, can we pin this on Romero and say Romero's only back for the international breaks when he's been back training, but he hasn't been selected by the manager? I think it's a bit harsh. I think today will be telling, or a lot more telling today, on the lineup that he selects. Solanke, if it's just an impact and it's a knee into the back, as DC said, was when we used to play the game. Yeah, the knee in the back, although it's not nice and it will cause you some discomfort, there's so many painkillers you can take now just to numb the pain away. And there's so many anti-inflammatories you could take to take away the bruising, if there's any bruising there, that hopefully you'd like to think that he would be up for selection today. I think we need a Solanke, because without a Kulusevski, the only other player that can hold the ball up for me is Solanke. But I would like to see changes in that team today. And if we get the changes and we get, and I want to see a positive outcome today. So not only the changes, I want the changes to reflect the positive outcome. Now, that's for that today. And in going forward, I expect people, whether it's the manager selecting the team or whether it's the players that play, people, for me, should all be fighting for their spots for a squad place next season. And if you're not good enough, then manager don't pick them. Or if you're not good enough whilst you're playing and you've been selected, then you've got no future at the club. At the end of the day, we want players that are going to play with a badge. And we want players that are going to put a shift in. Too often this season, we have not seen a shift being put in by a lot of the players. Hence why we talked earlier about Son's excuses. You know, you can't rinse and repeat the same excuse. We will learn from this and get better. He said this. How many times he said it this season? And then Ange, with his interview on Thursday night after the game as well, how many times have you said what we heard you say on Thursday night, Ange? Something needs to stop. The players and the manager need to stop saying the same things and do something about it. For me, before the game, did we do a pre-match? I don't even know. Did I do a pre-match? I think I did a pre-match last week before the game. And in my WhatsApp group, I just turned around and said, the talking stops. You can't talk about injuries and about this, X, Y, and Z, and all the excuses that people talk about. The talking stops now. We have got the fully fittest squad that we've had since the start of the season for selection for the Alkmaar game on Thursday. And we went, picked the side, lost 1-0. For me, before that game, the talking stopped. You can't use any more excuses. We've got the strongest squad at the moment possible that we've had all season to select from. Talking stops. You just need to put the actions. The actions are far louder than the words that are coming out of people's mouths. And we need to start backing that up now for the rest of the season in the league. That's what I'm hoping will happen. And then lastly, yeah, as I said, we need a reaction and we need some changes today. And the last question I have is, Chang, it's a simple one. It's a simple
Yes, we do.
one.
Yes, we do, Jose. We do get on this
Tell us
day.
why. Tell us why, Chang. Tell us why.
Okay, the first step, or rather, why this is going to happen. The first part to my answer would take place later on this afternoon, and we are going to show up and we are going to show something different today. And as you quite rightly mentioned, just moments ago, that we have a fully fit squad, or even a more healthy squad right now than we did at the start of the season. And I mean, if you can't make home form counts, or if you can't even make home advantage count in your favor in these sort of key matches, then I think not only is the season over, but this whole experiment, this whole sort of regime under Ange is all but over. Which is why I honestly feel that today, this afternoon, would be the first step in righting so many wrongs and to getting us back on track, not only in Europe, but for the rest of the season as well. And the one thing that I would say about us losing on Thursday is that loss actually felt very, very similar to the Galatasaray loss. If you remember earlier on in the group stages of this season's Europa League, when we lost to Galatasaray, I thought we could have lost by a lot more, a whole lot more, if it wasn't for the likes of Fraser Foster and a few of our defenders that we had at the time. And this is why I think that we really shouldn't look too much, or we shouldn't be reading too much into any of these defeats, because unlike the Liverpool games where we lost by more than a single goal, pretty much all our other defeats, whether it's home or away, or whether it's in Europe or the domestic league, has always been to the odd singular goal to the opposition. And I honestly do think we can turn things around on Thursday, and the players themselves will prove to us why this is the case later on this afternoon. But more than ever, I think for players like Maddison, if Maddison is really serious on not only shushing Roy Keane, but to even force his way back into reckoning into that England setup under Thomas Tuchel, then this is his last chance. This has to be last chance, or last chance saloon for the likes of Maddison to have any sort of hope of getting back into the national side. And I honestly believe that this is the case as well for many of those players on our books, whether it's your Udogis or even the Jet Spence. If Jet Spence is serious about getting a call-up to the England national squad, then you can bet your last dollar that today and Thursday he is going to be showing up soon. or rather he will be carrying on with his good form. But other than that, I honestly feel that the players themselves would be looking forward to giving us fans something to cheer about after Thursday. And yeah, this is hoping that we learn our lesson from Thursday. And more than anything, I really do hope that Big Ange himself, he right now holds the key. Big Ange holds the key to turning our fortunes around. And I really do want him to prove many of us wrong as well, that he can play them. He can play more than one singular style or approach of football, and that he can make changes to his tactics and even bring on early substitutions to change the way in his favor rather than be reactionary. Because otherwise, then honestly, this whole experiment with him is one big massive failure. So yeah, I really do hope that we turn things around today, and that this would end up with us scraping through, not really blasting our way forward, but scraping through this Thursday.
Fantastic. Right. So we've got Eugene says the international break will start after the Fulham game. Johnny says this season the deadwood has become apparent. Quite obviously who needs to go now. What we need is quality, consistency, and aggressive players who the young can learn from. We touched upon this earlier, Johnny. He said exactly the same as what you're saying there. Let's Dragon Guy says, I agree. I was really optimistic after all the injuries that we'd bounced back. Johnny says that Thursday is a great and D-Day, in my opinion. Right, so I'm going to say, and it's because I've been a lifelong supporter, I'm going to say that we do get through on Thursday. We are at home. The only thing that I will say that I've noticed, and I might be wrong here because I'm not at the matches, and I'm like everybody, well, like a lot of us here, I've been watching them on streams, telly, whatever we watch them on. I've found that for me in the last couple of months, the atmosphere at the stadium, I don't hear it. So when we talk about becoming the 12th man and stuff like that, I've not heard the stadium rocking for at least a couple of months. And I'm hoping that today, although I won't be at the game, I'm hoping today that they cheer the boys and the lads on loudly today to try and get us them 3 points today. And I hope that after today we get a victory and that it transpires onto Thursday, and that once again Thursday night under the lights, I hope that the fans, I know it's only AZ people are going to say, but I hope the fans do get behind the team both today and on Thursday. We've got lots of problems at the club at the moment. Whether it's the players, the manager, the board, whichever way you want to pin your flag or pin your badge, whatever you want to do. I think we just, as a long-suffering Spurs fan, I'm just going to get behind the team. I want us to win all the time, and I'm hoping that today, that come 4 o'clock today, that I'm feeling more positive about my club with a result. With the results, I feel more positive about the club today than what I did after Thursday night's game. So that's where I am with that. Drula says, we will definitely go through Thursday. We need to start getting behind them now. They need us most, says Drula. And at this juncture, I'm going to thank Chang for coming on this morning. And it's the first, you noticed that I've put episode 1, Chang. So that means that you're here to stay because it's episode 1. So with that being said, we will be back for episode 2 next Sunday. The timing will be Sunday morning, whether it's 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock, that remains to be seen. We only did this one today because I've got other commitments today as well. So we did it as a 9 o'clock start. I do appreciate the 9 o'clock starts actually works out quite well because we've seen a few of our Australian friends join us today as well in the chat, which is good. Let's Dragons guy says, "Grats on the first episode 1." No, thank you very much. If you haven't subscribed already, please do. Let's Dragon, because it's not the only thing that we do. We do an absolutely fantastic prediction show, predictions that's interactive. So, and that's for subscribers only. So, if people want to do that, then please subscribe. It helps. Become a member also helps. But yeah, thank you, Chang, very, very much. And what I'm also going to do is I'm going to thank Peter Kagayas, who gifted out 5 channel memberships. I'm going to thank Vindaloo for his super chat. Thank you very much, Vindaloo. And also to Taigaro, thank you very much for your gift of memberships as well. And as we say, come on, up the lads. And it's, for me, it's come on, you Spurs. And for you, Chang,
Come on, you Spurs! Come on, you Spurs!
Take care, everyone. God bless you all. Enjoy your Sundays. And hopefully, in about 5 or 6 hours' time, we'll have something to cheer about. Thank you, guys. Take care of yourselves. God bless you all. Bye-bye.